Hey, what's up, guys? It's actually us here from Dope SEO, and we're here with another episode of MJBizCon here at MJBizCon at the Manufacturers Pavilion. It's 2024. It's Friday, and I feel like everyone's in a little bit of recovery mode. But we got Adam here from iSpire. We're going to talk about some fun stuff, and Adam, say hi. Let everybody know who you are and what you do.
How's it going, guys? My name is Adam Rosin. I'm with iSpire Vape Technology. All right, we got some fans.
There you go. We got some fans. We got some fans. Give it up. Give it up for Adam. Hold on. Let's see if we can get a bigger one.
For those of you who are still alive on Friday morning, afternoon, whatever it is to you.
Recovery Friday.
Yeah. Those of you who've been here for over the 72-hour rule, bless your souls. I got it on Monday, and I'm hurting too, but we're here.
We're here. We're here. We're doing it, and we're going to work.
And we're doing it together, which is the most important thing in cannabis. So,
absolutely. Show up, do the work, get it done, make it happen.
Yeah, I've been with iSpire since inception about 4 years ago. Been on our business development and sales team, mainly focused on strategic partnerships and, again, building the industry from culture first and from the heart.
Yep. I feel what's funny is we've seen each other so many times, so many overlaps, everything else. I was like, I know you. I feel like when you've been doing this as long as you have with one company, because there's a lot of turnover. We're not talking on subject at all right now, but you got people that are like, oh, I work with such and such. Sorry to say I no longer work with such and such. And then 2 weeks later, like, I work with such and such. And it's like, you've been like in an iSpire, like dedicated day one. I feel. Do you have an iSpire tattoo?
Not yet.
Not yet? Do you plan on getting one?
Maybe if they sign me up for 4 more years,
Luna, you hear that? 4 more years, he gets a tattoo. Do you?
If we get reelected.
4 more years.
If you guys reelect me for 4 more years, I'll get an iSpire tattoo.
Yeah, you sign him up for 4 more years. He gets an iSpire tattoo. That tattoos live forever. And
maybe we can let somebody in the room design it too.
Yeah,
make it fun. I'm already tatted.
He's already tatted. He can't be buried in the Jewish cemetery anyway.
I'm just not planning on dying. I'm just gonna keep going.
We did say we were going to do this off the cuff since it's just the two of us.
Should I come up there?
I don't know. Do you want to? We don't have. All right.
I think you're the most popular iSpire person.
Yeah, you're like the super iSpire.
From the side of the crowd.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Luna, everybody, there she is. What's up?
So I just have to say, Luna is, I think, the most passionate person I've ever met when it comes to putting the consumer first with cannabis. And if you have the word iSpire on your shirt and you walk through anywhere in the world, the first thing anyone comes up to you and says is, "Oh my gosh, I know Luna. Where is she?"
Yeah, no, Luna.
They completely forget to say hello to you.
Luna, I think we made changes to the Luna show, and we're not going to give you the mic. We're actually just going to talk about you and just how awesome we think you are. So
I love this. Raina loves me too.
Yeah.
She's OG too.
No, super OG. Yeah, absolutely. So like day one iSpire, but I feel like here's the thing. So when I first met you, like for one, I gotta give iSpire props because like. Like you meet people in industry shows and trade shows, and they're like, who are you? What do you do? It was like the warmest, energetic welcome ever. You were like, hey, what's up? I was like, oh my God, you're just like totally cool. You know what I mean?
Insta-fam, because cannabis connects us all.
Absolutely, but I feel like that's part of like the whole iSpire team in general. Like I've never caught like a bad vibe from anybody from iSpire.
Shout out to Jeff Doran.
Yeah, and I feel like that's culture in general. You know what I mean? Like culture for a business, culture for whatever. We are not talking about manufacturing at all, by the way, which is what we're. Hey, Raina.
This is Purple Raina.
Okay, Raina, grab a headset.
Raina has been in the cannabis industry for at least 10 years. She has been an independent sales rep, which is very difficult to achieve.
Yep.
Usually you have to work for a distributor or you have to work for a brand. To be your own micro sales organization with distro is extremely difficult. She's kept her own brand. She has been Purple Raina since I've met her. She always puts equity-focused brands first, always women of color focused brands, and tells a story about
there you go.
Folks. So we really need to, share some love in the industry to the people that built it.
Raina, by the way, you are the first person to sneak on stage for this. And I just want to say I'm the facilitator of this, but actually Adam's my co-defendant on this completely. Like we were.
And Adam, we have to shout out Adam real quick. Adam came in as a sales rep, and he has single-handedly built the entire revenue structure of iSpire. We are like $1 billion publicly traded company, the first cannabis vape technology company to go to IPO on the NASDAQ.
Wow.
And you're looking at the person who has managed that, and that is difficult, right? Because hardware is not easy to sell. This is not something we can just like market to consumers.
And he's
It's
willing to get an
guerrilla.
iSpire tattoo.
He is willing to get a. Can you show the love more? Show the camera the love more.
Mr. Lovemore is my alter ego because that's the universal language is love, right?
Yes.
We all know cannabis, but if you know love, it is the universal language.
Yes.
I feel like your stock equity just went up immensely. You know what I mean? Like if anybody were to be like, "Hey, we want to poach you from iSpire," you'd be like, "Listen, did you see this interview that we just did? This is what I do. This is what I bring to the table."
He is a prolific songwriter, rapper, singer, producer, and has multiple albums out. And no one knows this about him because he's very humble. He is an unbelievable artist.
I think a lot of people in this room are. I think when we look at cannabis culture, like honestly, it would be nice to know if we could get a list when everybody signed up for MJBiz. Do you have a hobby? Do you play an instrument? Can we do a jam sesh at the next MJBiz together? Because I've done this personally.
Yo, that would be the sickest after party.
Music makes me tick, okay? I love creativity, and I found other people in cannabis who do too. And being on stage with them at shows like this with my people that I love was fucking amazing.
Oh my God.
DJ
I want everyone else to experience that too. So if everyone listening can get down with this, I'd love to get more jam sessions going. If you're a photographer, if you're an artist, let's get everyone's...
I'm down.
Let's get everyone's...
Talent show.
I'm down.
Talent show.
I'm down. I'm down.
That way we can bring out more than just who we are as people, who we are representing our businesses, but we can connect on another level, which is where our relationships truly get built and we make long-lasting relationships.
Oh, this is great. I love how
extremely
unscripted this is.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I feel like we can mic drop this here, but I want to talk to Raina. Raina, how much of a Prince fan are you?
I'm a huge Prince fan. My brand is Purple Rain.
Yeah, I was like, okay, all right.
And I was just able to trademark it.
Good for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, infused self-care.
Okay.
Yes. Plant infused, crystal infused. That's like one of the newest products.
Oh, I forgot you have your own line now too.
Yes.
Wait, crystal
Yes.
Crystal.
Yes,
She's a magic maker.
Yes, you could actually take amethyst crystals and extract into like liquefied.
I love science.
Some alchemy,
Yeah.
straight up.
I feel like that's amazing science because you would never think you could. It's a rock. It's a stone.
all things that have an essence can be extracted technically, I guess, right?
Truth.
So we're in Vegas.
Okay.
I just want to drop a piece of knowledge for all of you guys who are hungover or have consumed alcohol recently.
Amethyst crystals.
I
Think
thought you were
about
pointing at
this.
me.
Yes, I'm like pointing in. Think about this.
Adam gives great foot
Is it true or
massages.
not? When you are drinking alcohol, technically, when you are pushing alcohol through something, it is extracting the essence of the thing that it is moving through or it is in. Is it true then, theoretically, that as we are drinking the alcohol, is it distilling our life essence as it's moving through us and then we push it out through our urethras? Are we literally making a distillation or an extract of our
we say
essence
that?
with a spirit? Urethra?
Your
Think
pee-pee
about
hole.
it. I mean...
Deep
It's
thoughts.
interesting. So when we're talking about cannabis as a replacement for other things, we're bringing in something that's adding to our system versus when we're drinking alcohol, it's a depletion and it's a gathering of something that passes through us. So not trying to speak down to alcohol, but I think when we're talking about alchemy and we're talking about these things, our bodies are of essence. So if you can pull the essence out of a rock, you can pull an essence out of our body.
Truth.
Just wanted to put it out there because it's Vegas.
the reason I got here at like 10 and not groggy and all that stuff is because I only had one drink.
Good for you.
But I stayed
Disciplined.
high. I stayed on my gummies.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
CBD and all that.
Yeah.
Take me through the day. Different. It's a lifestyle. Use it as you need to. And no hangover.
Love it.
One drink.
Love it. Love it. All right.
No comment.
Well, yeah.
So what was the topic of this panel?
We were supposed to be talking about machine manufacturing.
Dude, have you guys seen our autofilling machine?
No.
At our booth?
But you should.
The number one
Manufacturing
complaint.
centers was actually kind of tied.
Oh yeah,
into this.
manufacturing standard, like automated manufacturing.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
automated.
it's the
We
importance
haven't
of having-
The
listened.
number one cause of complaints around cartridges are, popping, clogging, leaking, all of that stuff. Almost all of them are attributed to the capping process.
Oh,
So we
you don't put the
listened
shit
for
on
so
right.
many years. Instead of trying to like reinvent and band-aid, we're like, what if we just did an all-in-one, a self-sealing? There's no cap. The needle goes in, it fills it, it comes back out, and it seals itself. We're trying to get into Europe. EU GMP, you can't mess around with no contamination, none of that stuff. So we need to be, what's the Wayne Gretzky? Go to where the puck is going, not where it's at.
Truth.
When you're talking, and also when we have 280E, that's labor, right? Like and we're not trying to like automate to take all these jobs away from cannabis. Like at some point, no one's making margins. We have to eat, and someone just manually filling things and messing it up, or they go to the next manager and they forget to let it sit for 0.3 seconds instead of 0.5 seconds, and you've got a launch that goes south, and you've got a consumer that's mad, a retailer that's mad, a brand that's damaged, and a relationship that's really hard.
And it is really hard to get that trust back.
Stories.
Yeah, and a lot of these emerging markets, you're relying on operators who've never done this before.
Right.
Like what you said earlier, we are in the most complex portion of this industry sector where there's a lot of nuances and a lot of validation that has to go into testing. Just because you have a distillate or a live resin doesn't mean that every blend is going to be the exact same viscosity.
Right.
So there is no unicorn device for every blend. It just doesn't exist.
Even within one SKU line, like maybe one has an 8% terp and one has 12% terp because this strain needed a little bit more terps. Those, you might even need different hardware for something that small. Yeah. Yes, it's for all-in-ones, cartridges, whatever form factor.
Yeah. Yeah, the all-in-ones and the cartridges are filled with an inverted fill, which she was alluding to. So traditionally with a standard fill, you have hot oil going down at the hottest it's ever going to be as you're filling it, whether it be through a handgun or one of these automated filling machines. And you have atmospheric pressure pushing that down into the heating core.
Science.
And what that is doing is oversaturating the heating core immediately, which is why almost every cartridge I have ever smoked pops off the first hit. Sometimes it even shoots hot oil into your mouth.
Yeah, it's
And
nasty. And then you're like,
who gets blamed for that? The brand. Every time. Whoever's name is on that pen gets blamed for that.
Yep.
So by filling inverted, we're actually allowing the oil to cool naturally before it ever hits the heating core.
So you're not like accidentally burning the coils or messing with the hardware or anything because of the temperature, because it's going into a cold machine, you know what I mean? A cold, I don't know what.
It's off-gassing.
Apparatus, you know what I mean?
It's off-gassing through the bottom, and the oil gets to cool just naturally by the air.
Right.
Right? So not only are we making this more operationally efficient by removing the capping process, but it's also making sure the first cart and the last cart are the exact same. Because say you have a tray of 100 carts, right? Mm-hmm. And the machine's going, it takes maybe a couple minutes to run 100 of them, right? So first cart gets filled. By the time it makes it to that last cart, this one's been exposed for about 2 minutes. Last cart gets filled, you take those off, then you go cap it.
Right.
If you're lucky, you're batch capping, you can do them all at once.
Right,
It's
but,
like
but
ravioli.
it's still
You would
different
never put
pressure all the way
ravioli.
down. You know
But
what I
you've
mean?
been oxidizing this first cart for 2 minutes. So to her point, when we're looking at EU GMP and we're looking at the highest standards possible, you don't want any open air contamination at all.
None.
So when these things show up clean room
boom.
safe, and they're going to be clean room safe all the way through to being packaged until they get into the consumer's hands, you can't beat it. That's it.
And this is how Adam has taken you to a
Science rules.
Science rules. So okay, so with so I guess this is why we're talking about manufacturing centers. So because by the way, we've been going 13 minutes. We are just now on topic. You know what I mean, for what we're supposed to be talking about.
It's a long intro.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal. I think like if you made it through this, like we warmed everybody up to like, wow, we're really fun and awesome people, and like we're actually intelligent too. I
like to call that suits and roots.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I want to allude on that too, because there's a lot of people in this room who can play on both sides of that fence.
You know this.
Yes.
Raina's like
Yes.
The hands have to wash each other to make this work. Like you have to have business acumen, and you have to have culture to really understand where this came from. You had to have been at a facility, been to a cultivation, understand how difficult this has been in the labs, getting through regulation loopholes to really bring that to the table. So we have to be balancing on both sides and have people in the room who are writing these regulations who can talk the talk and walk the walk. If you can't do both, you got to get out of the way and let the people who can play on both sides really write this. Otherwise, we're going to be doing trial and error for years, and it's going to take forever.
Right.
We need to get the right people to do this right the
and
first
we
time
don't have
so we can
enough
build a foundation.
capital, right? Like if capital wasn't an issue, time wouldn't be an issue. But we don't have the privilege to mess around. We have efficiency. It's or death. It's really efficiency or bust at this point.
Yeah,
people are going out of business
to
every
get you
day.
back on your topic. Well, that'll lead right into manufacturing centers. There's a world where everyone should be a pro at one thing.
Right.
I think I'm going to allude to like a sports team, right? Everyone has a position to play.
Yeah.
Right. One person be really good at cultivation. One person be really good at extraction. One person be really good at co-packing. Like I see all these verticals out here trying to monopolize each other. If we actually all played our position
and just played it together,
pass
you know
the
what I mean?
puck,
Yeah, absolutely.
maybe we'd score more goals.
Yeah.
That's like early civilizations too, like tribal thing. There was like the multi-generational farmer, the multi-generational teacher, like that society, about 100 to 150 people. Everyone had something that they then pass on in an apprenticeship. Like this is how we've been evolutionarily built on an anthropological, biological level.
Well, this is how we built
know?
society.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like you had a trade. You know what I mean? You had a purpose, and this is what you became really, really good at. And then because of generational training and learning, you got better at it. You know what I mean? Because it's like my grandfather. It's like
you have a crest that has like the steel axe.
Look,
and
it's,
you're like,
it's grandma's recipe. You know what I mean? There are certain things that are just handed down that are like, this is the way it's. This is the way it's been done. But I had a little bit of this because like we're using a different pot now. You know what I mean? We're not using like the old like cast iron thing that's been handed down. Whatever. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that standardization is the one thing that we need for normalization. We're not going to talk to governments. We're not going to scale this if we don't have something that looks something like mainstream manufacturing.
Right.
We have to catch up with what they're doing.
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah. That's why we went public. I mean, you think not everyone wants to go public. It has so many benefits, but there's a lot of challenges too.
Yeah.
We need institutional investment to build a kind of a supply chain that we can control. Look at the geopolitical tensions right now with China.
Truth.
There's a reason why we built a manufacturing space in Malaysia a year ago. We knew that this was going to happen. Like we have to start owning. Same thing with like getting off of Meta and going to our websites. We need to start owning the sorry to sound Marxist, the means of production. Own the means of production. That is the only way to control and take back from a corporate consolidation is to like own the supply chain. And iSpire is trying to do that in a way that's asset light. So we're not just tied to one manufacturer. We can manufacture all over the world with different people. Even some of our quote competitors, manufacturers, we're collaborating with all of our competitors behind the scenes.
Right.
Like, let's to your point, like let's start seeing how we add to each other.
Yeah.
And Adam's really good at that. We started Vape Safer, which is like a coalition of all the different vape manufacturers to set regulations with the regulators so that they're not regulating us. We're telling them how to regulate us and set that standard.
Ooh.
And it takes a lot of networking. Most other industries, you don't get all competitors in a room in a very small. There's only like 10 major hardware companies,
right?
And we are best friends. Like we are figuring this out together. That is what's going to change it, because you can't be trying to create the wheel all over the place. If we're all putting our resources together, we're going to push it forward. And that's what cannabis brings to business. The suits and the roots, like he's talking about. We need to start scaling love. We need to start making love lucrative.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not competition if you're morally and ethically aligned.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a competitor. That's healthy competition. It needs to exist to keep making each other better and pushing this.
Well, there's plenty of room for everybody to eat too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's an
And I think
abundance.
like it's an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. Where we can't let them get all the customers. And it's like, look, no one's ever going to have all the customers.
But that's greed
We're a collective
capitalism.
culture. Who wants to smoke weed alone?
Right.
Versus looking at like an ecosystem that
And
there's no limit.
Yeah.
So it just gets bigger and bigger, and everybody we can multiply each other when we collaborate rather than only compete or
bigger than the sum of our parts.
Yes, totally.
I feel like we need a follow up on this, and I feel like every event that we're all together at, like we should just be like, remember what we talked about last time? Let's build on this.
Yeah.
Because let's just for anybody that's sitting here watching this, if you're watching this, the recording, there have been knowledge bomb. There's like a compounding stack of like, this is how you should do business. Not even just like, but like mindset, mentality, energy, everything. And it just goes
best
down
practices.
to like, best practices. And it's funny though, because but you guys are a hardware company. You know what I mean?
Which is a platform.
Which is a platform.
A healthy base,
but
you
here's
can't build anything.
the energy and the mindset and the people behind this are why they are where they are. You know what I mean? Why they are continuing to scale the way they do and continuing to influence and help the industry grow. You know what I mean? Because it's not just, well, we need to make more money. We're going to cut some shit out of the way. You know what I mean? If anything, it's like we're going to invest. Obviously, like, yes, we have margins, we have everything else, but it's like we're willing to invest, we're willing to grow, we're willing to collaborate, we're willing to work with people to make sure that look, we're putting out the best product, we're continuing to get better, but also like to better serve the community, better serve the industry. And it's a forward thinking when everything, you know what I mean? Like, look, we don't know if it's deschedule, reschedule, whatever, but you're already talking globalization. You know what I mean? You're not just like, well, how do we sell more? You know what I mean? You're thinking about like, okay, cool. So how do we make this safe for everyone? How do we make this the standard? How do we make this for, you know?
And even within our business, like it doesn't have to be ubiquitous, right? Like we don't have to make only economical product or an only luxury one. And I don't know if you wanted to speak to Volt and like our thinking behind that as far as helping differentiate, because that I feel like once you get big enough, you can't serve all needs with all your product SKUs, and so we kind of created our own little side gig.
I would love to speak on this because this keeps me up. I lose sleep over this shit every night. So,
I want to hear about this.
all right, there's really two things at this point that are driving consumer buying behaviors, and we all know price is the number one. And if we look at a cartridge at this point, no one's smoking CBD cartridges. We know you're smoking weed, right? So you could call it the technology's better and the disposable, or it's more convenient. But if we're really experiencing inflation right now, which we are in the country, people would be buying more cartridges because they're cheaper than disposables. So that's clearly not what's happening, right? So
it's the quality of the
We're taking this back, and we're like, how do we make something that saves money for the consumer, saves the world, and how do we market it and pitch it, right? And pod systems have been on the radar for years, but the problem is brands always want their own pod system.
Their own super unique, like it only works with this battery. It only works with this thread. You can only replace it with this. You know, here you go. This is coming from somebody that used to smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day that went to vaping, and then it was like I was building my own mods, and I was like, this fucking sucks. And then like basically it was like, oh, you bought a new machine. Da, da, da. Yeah, I went to disposables. So, dude, I'm tired of like buying a new thing, and then like your vape. Your pod doesn't last for 6 months. Right. And then by the time I go, I'm like, hey, I need new this. Oh, those are discontinued. Here are the new, I'm like, does it really need to play music? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's why we built our, if you went to our actual booth, like we built a whole element of our booth just around Volt.
Okay, great.
So what we're trying to do with Volt is have a pod system overtake the 510 thread and replace it.
Beautiful.
Right? So for all the guys in the room who say, I want my own pod system, I always ask them the same question. I say, do you have a 510 thread cart? And when they say yes, I'm saying, so does everybody else.
Right.
So what's the difference?
Right.
This is the same thing. It's a replacement of it.
Right.
But it's more discreet. It's the same price as a cart.
And better for the Pachamama. Can you speak to that? How it's better for Mother Nature?
Oh, of course. I mean, when we're not throwing away lithium-ion batteries when we're only getting rid of a pod, think about the carbon footprint we're throwing. Like, there's hundreds of thousands of disposables thrown out every
millions.
Month. Yeah. And
millions that are just tossed.
Right. And we're partnering with the World Wildlife Foundation to give back to the world on top of what we're doing. But here's the other thing that has to exist, right? There's two things that will make a universal pod system work, and they have to happen. Otherwise, it's going to fail. The manufacturer needs to control it.
Right.
They need to put skin in the game to seed the market with enough batteries for consumers to have a platform. Right?
Yeah.
That's one. So iSpire is actually putting in the first 5 million units,
capital,
a pod and a battery for the same price as a disposable to help seed the market.
What?
Okay. So that's going to help get 5 million of these out. Here's the other thing that has to exist, okay? Because in a consumer's mind, if I walk into a store and I see one brand of a pod battery and one pod, in my mind, that's a proprietary pod to that brand.
Right.
Okay. If I walk into that shop and there's a display that has 5 different brands showing me that this pod system works on a family of things, immediately I
guess
know
what I'm adopting. Guess what I'm adopting. I no longer have, my battery died by this, I have to replace this. Or
you're not trapped.
You're not trapped, but also it's like, as someone who travels, you know what I mean? It's like, do they even sell this brand in another state if I run out? You know what I mean?
Irrelevant.
Yeah, it becomes irrelevant. You're like,
Well, this is the thing about capitalism and planned obsolescence. They literally create things just long enough so that you stay loyal, but short enough that you buy another one.
Right.
We're not about that life.
No.
We're not here to make a negative impact. We're here to bring more cannabis to people, not to harm anything.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't been over to the iSpire booth, we're at 8218 up front, over by the smoking patio over there. We got a machine on display, and again, this pod system to me is the future. Europe's already on pods.
Yeah.
They're banning disposables in several countries, and it will be over the whole continent. So what's going to happen eventually when we actually be about it and say we're going to take care of the world? Let's stay ahead of that. Let's get stabilization testing done on these. Let's get UL certification. That way, when we go federally legal, we're ready to go.
You have it in place, ready to go, and it's not another 6 to 12 to 2 years of figuring it out.
If you don't want to save money as a consumer and you don't want to save the world, I don't have time for you.
By the way, if you guys ever need 100%. If you guys ever need a cheerleader for iSpire, like a complete third-party cheerleader, you've just earned one. You know what I mean? If I wasn't already.
So also, just to be clear, since it is a little confusing in the market, Aspire was our parent company before we went public 2 years ago. They were Tony Liu, the founder, was the inventor of the vertical coil vape pen in 2009. So we've been in the nicotine. We invented the nicotine space and have been in that space for decades. So we got into cannabis 4 years ago, but our hardware can work across cannabis, hemp, and nicotine.
Beautiful.
So we're also working with Burna Boy. We're doing all of his breakfast vapes. Snoop Dogg Dog Pounds. We signed a deal with them to do their hemp line. We've worked with Cookies a lot on both the cannabis and the nicotine or the hemp side. We have worked with Exhibit. He was one of our first brands with Napalm. So we are doing things a lot bigger than just how we can show up. We have to show up. So we work in the most regulated markets in the world, nicotine, hemp, and cannabis. And then on top of that, the most regulated space, which is vape. So we have to have a lot of lawyers. We have to be very careful about how we operate because we do have the SEC to mess with now that we're IPO'd. So we really are trying to take an approach where we're being responsible in each area. We're really focused on age gating, point of use age gating. We've learned that point of sale age gating is not working. Everyone knows the kids are still getting it. We are working on a way that on the unit itself, there is a way to identify through a real Clear. We're working with Clear, and they do ID.me, like the airport Clear, to make sure that whoever is picking up that vape is of age to use it, whatever the substance is inside of it. So we're talking about the responsible revolution.
Biometrics of your eyes, no different than when you go through Clear.
No, you're basically this is like thumbprint, your device.
We can't talk about it yet.
Okay, whatever.
But yes, all of the Tron,
I love it.
All these futuristic movies, it's amazing, and we need to get ahead of this stuff because
biometric vape cards.
How else are we going to keep it safe?
Keep it out of the hands of kids.
Doing business.
That's beautiful.
We all have our inner child, but it's got to be safe.
All right. If I wasn't a fan already, I'm like a super fan. I think when you get your tattoo, I'll get my tattoo together, and then we'll
I'm down to get a matching tattoo with you.
If you want to learn more about the public company side, it's iSpire Technologies. And if you want to see more of what we're doing in cannabis, it's Get iSpire. Those are our both our handles and our websites. If you want to see more of the public company side, the way that we're doing moves, all of our patents, all of our IP, that's iSpire Technologies. And Get iSpire is really the culture of it, how we show up, the brand. And we're happy to do any education. I'm here as a mentor. I'm the head of Impact. So if you have any questions, I've been an educator in the space forever. If people are curious about anything related to what we talked about today, myself, Raina, Adam, everyone here is available. We really want to help share because knowledge is power, and we're not going to do this alone.
And
that's it.
Absolute, absolute mic drop. We are a village. It takes a village to help grow the industry. So,
amen.
That's awesome.
We'll high five that too.
Yeah.
And where can they find you, Purple Raina?
Purple Raina.
Purple Raina is at Purple Raina. That's Raina spelled RAINA. 420.com.
Which is queen in Spanish. And I'm Luna, which is moon in Spanish.
Oh,
so mystical.
It's funny, and the universe just happened to have both of you walking by when we started this, and it was just like this. And
it's the law of attraction.
What's even funnier, we were like, let's go to the bathroom before we do it. We're just going to go completely off the cuff. And it was, I think the timing on everything worked out perfectly.
Perfect.
This might be my favorite episode I've ever co-hosted.
Awesome.
So.
And you've done tens of thousands of
these. I
applaud
you.
Feels like it, yeah.
Just the work.
I'm a vet, so yeah.
We're doing it with compassion.
No.
That is not lost.
This leads everything.
You're the Maximus.
You're the Luna.
Luna Sour signing off.
Got to do this, to be continued.
All right, Eric, we're getting off. Listen, this has been another episode of Beat Unshackled here at the Manufacturers Pavilion at MJBizCon 2024. This is your host, Max Uos from Dope SEO. Signing off. Big shout to iSpire and big shout to Purple Raina.
And Mita. Thanks for having us.
And Mita. Without Mita being here, none of this would be happening. So
we're building this industry together. Shout out to everybody.
Shout out.